Hey guys, it's Matt. I was thinking a lot over the weekend about the managed conflict between Iran and Israel, and I was wondering which way it'll go. Think it'll all just go away over the next few weeks, or will they turn this into a long-term cake and a lake managed conflict, like what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, where they're still holding back 60 to 70% of their arsenal, or 60 or 70% at least of the Russian capabilities? Will they do that, prolong it, using the roadmap in terms of cake and lake events that they've already laid out between Russia and Ukraine in terms of managing the conflict and holding back capabilities and resources? Now, if you're on the ground here, for example, bottom left, Iranian state TV attacked by Israel while live on the air. Iranian state TV. Hi, this is News 3 coming to you from Tehran. Holy shit! Boom! They were attacked live and on the air. That script played out during the Iraq War. Of course, the scripts are just playing out over and over again. See, if you were there, it really happened. Something happened. It's not an AI mid-journey picture we're looking at bottom left. It's like Lou. Lou is nice and he's tough. Overall, it's cake and lake. It's managed. It's a script. But for each event, it's real if you're in the middle of it. Even if it's real, it's fake. So when I look to your comments, which way do you think this is going to go? Of course, the script was written a long time ago, but what do you think will actually play out? We'll just kind of peter out over the next few weeks. So Trump left the G7 conference unexpectedly early, and he'll broker a deal and just kind of go away over 2 or 3 weeks, and the attacks will get less and less. Or do you think they'll do a Russia-Ukraine? That's the new coined term for a managed war. They'll do a Russia-Ukraine, where it could go on for years, but each side holding back, I said 60 or 70%, holding back 90% of its capabilities, at least on the Israeli side. Let me translate that for certain groups. For the side, they'll hold back capabilities, and then it could go on for a long time, years and years and years. You think they're going to try to pull a new coined term of Russia-Ukraine? They might. Now, just over 100 years ago, to start a world war, all you had to do was whack one guy. You know, this is Archduke Ferdinand, World War I. That sandwich man there on the left, Gavrilo Princip or whatever, he was eating a damn po' boy. We've talked about it a million times. Sandwich man. He missed him the first time. That jerk with the mustache continued to ride around, even though he knew there was anarchists out to get him, continued to ride around an open-air convertible. Matt, you're not suggesting that this story is cake and a lake. No, of course not. I would never do that. Look at his mustache. What did they say in Weird Science? Look at his haircut. Anybody with a haircut like that and a mustache like that got to be an asshole. That's what Gary or Wyatt said about Chet. In that this is the Chet of 1914, Archduke Ferdinand. But anyway, in the past, all you had to do was whack one guy, and it put millions of component parts into motion for a world war that dragged in over 20 countries. Now, apparently, 2025, you just bomb away. Bomb, Iran. You just bomb away, hundreds dead on both sides, nuclear weapons facilities, factories, it'll manage itself. It won't ever amount to a world war, but back in the day, this is just over 100 years ago. Well, it's well over 100 years ago at this point, 1914. And the anniversary date for the whacking of Archduke Ferdinand is towards the end of June. If anybody listening to the words coming out of my mouth wants to celebrate it, I'm not sure of the date. It's the end of June, 1914. You celebrate that in your own way. Maybe get a mustache and a haircut like that. That's how you celebrate it. You wax that mustache up. Wax it up. The World War caused by this. Now just whatever. You go and Russia, you go down. It'll stay controlled. It'll stay within its little petri dish. Nothing will ever get out of control anymore because this is just the Notnilc just manages it differently. The old guard knows I can't resist the World War I topic and Archduke Ferdinand. I had to take a close look at him, which we do once a year. I'll get back to the important news story that's completely real and legitimate in just a few minutes, guys. But Archduke Ferdinand, you know what I was thinking just a minute ago? Could this have been the original tenet of what is now called David Bowie Island? Then I paused for a second and said, no way. The Notnilc has been doing this sort of thing for thousands of years. And it wouldn't have been called David Bowie Island back when Archduke Ferdinand went off to it, as I was thinking the original tenet, but that's ridiculous. When he got there, there was thousands of people already there. The Notnilc has been doing this sort of thing for thousands of years. So not original tenet, but it wasn't called David Bowie Island where he went off to. After the Cake and a Lake event with Gavrilo Princip. You don't think that was real, do you? It would have been called something like Albert Pike Island, maybe. Would the timing have been right on? Yeah, it could have been called Albert Pike Island. And the islands always existed before. Way before that, it would have been what, Emperor Constantine Island or something like that, right? And they all go off. The Notnilc puts forth its cake and lake events throughout all of history. Julius Caesar. Oh, sure. Let's count the number of stabs. Bill had made a poster about that, didn't you, Bill? I need to find the poster where history records the number of stab wounds into Julius Caesar. Like they would have really cared back then. See, reality gives itself away as being completely fake. Was it 23 stab wounds? I mean, you count the, and even if it was recorded and they wouldn't have cared, what happened to him? He was stabbed a lot. You think they would have cared to try to record the number? Even if the damn coroner, whatever existed at the time, back at the end of the Roman Empire, whatever it was the middle, it wasn't the end, that was Constantine towards the end, Julius Caesar. We wouldn't have, even if he recorded it, how would that have been carried through history? The Library of Alexandria, last time I looked, burnt the F down. It would have never made it through history, and it's its own way. It's a Humpty Dumpty or a stuffed Lenin. And for one of the first times ever, I'm looking closely at the mustache man here, and I may have been wrong about him. In the past, I classified Archduke Ferdinand as one of the top Notnilc minions, but he has gentle eyes, doesn't he? I may be completely wrong about Archduke, and if I do, Archduke, if you're rolling around, I take it back. He may have just been caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, always under the dragon's wing. You can't be an Archduke in this world without being associated with what we call Notnilc, but he might not have wanted to go through with this. He said, I don't want to go off to Albert Pike Island, and he got a phone call, right? Did they have phones in 1914? Would he have got a phone call? I think the phone had been around for a while. I guess the top dignitaries would have had phones. If not, an albino pigeon would have landed with a red note strapped around his one leg or something. And he says, here's a note from the Notnilc. You're going to travel to Sarajevo, Archduke Ferdinand, and you're going to ride with the top down. Have we ever heard that theme before? Is he going to drive through Dealey Plaza? No, it didn't happen in Dealey Plaza, people. It happened in Sarajevo. That's where Gavrilo Princip dropped his po' boy and popped up out of the bushes and whacked him. And he said, and Archduke Ferdinand knew it was all going to be cake and a lake. Matt, this is already breaking down. He says, I don't want to participate in this. I don't want to go to Sarajevo and cake and a lake my own demise and then go off to Albert Pike Island. You're going to do what the Notnilc says, boy. You're gonna play it out the way we say you're gonna play it out. See, I always classified him as a Notnilc minion. He has kind eyes, gentle eyes. That's what Marie Antoinette said about Louis the 16th, I guess, when she was about to meet him for the first time in the movie Marie Antoinette. All I know about what happened between those two is what happened in the movie, which was Sofia Coppola. It's actually a very good movie, and the use of music in the Marie Antoinette movie is absolutely excellent. But forget that. In looking at Archduke Ferdinand for the very first time and looking into his kind eyes, I'm thinking I may have been wrong. He may have been caught up in a situation of which he had no control. When the Notnilc tells an Archduke to jump, let me tell you what, he jumps. Matt, are you actually showing is it sympathy or symphony towards a Notnilc minion? You know what? Yeah, I think that's the highest evolution of our spiritual endeavors here. If we can actually show sympathy, if we can show a symphony towards certain Notnilc minions who got forced onto David Bowie Island, Albert Pike Island, or Constantine Island, if we can actually show a symphony for some of these Notnilc minions, well, you know what? That's the highest evolution of our spiritual progression, and I'm proud to do it. Archduke Ferdinand, I take back everything I said, sir, and I hope you're alive and well on what's today known as David Bowie Island. Sorry, guys, let me get back to the important news headlines that are so important to you. Trump disputes Intel chief Tulsi Gabbard on Iran's nuclear capabilities. I don't care what she said. Isn't he getting his information from his Intel people? Oh boy, this is okay. It says underneath, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, flanked by FBI Director Kash Patel left, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who are these people, testifies at the House Intelligence Committee, blah, 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 blah. President Donald Trump disputed his own Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. See, Trump's saying what Israel did was very, very appropriate because they were just weeks away or months away from having nuclear capabilities. But we heard that in 2005. They said the exact same thing in 2005, but we're the only ones that noticed that. Our family and friends don't care about that. But the intel chief said they weren't that close, maybe a year or two, not just weeks away. And Trump disputes his own intel chief, which is Tulsi Gabbard. What's that gray in her? There's a gray streak in her hair. She actually went to the hairdresser and said, put this gray streak in. Looks like the mother of the movie Poltergeist. Remember the mother had that gray streak at the end after that ordeal she went through with the demons trying to get through the closet? I guess I would get a gray streak too if I was the director of national intelligence trying to put forth all these cake and lake events, all one after the other. I mean, actually, here's what, even it's real, it's fake, guys. Tulsi Gabbard believes in every bit of it. The first great truth, they all go in the back room and and they laugh and they have their cognac and what fake events are we going to put forth tomorrow? At these levels, they believe in every bit of it. She believes in the threats. There's no doubt. That's my opinion. I know many of you disagree. Matt, at the senior intelligence levels, they know it's all cake and a lake. Nope. They're on the frequency. At this level, they believe in every bit of it. We'll talk about these sorts of things some other time. And this reminds me, I was going to really get on her, but it reminds me of one of the most ridiculous comments I've ever received under a video. It just happened a week or two ago where, remember, I was picking on the mayor of Los Angeles, and I called her a creature, remember? And then before that, I was picking on some other, the national director of arts or something, and I was saying, hey, honey, you don't look too good, honey. Whatever. Somebody said, Matt, I didn't realize you are a misogynist. You're a disgusting man. You know, you're not that, the comment said something like, you're not that young anymore, Matt, picking on middle-aged women. I went, what? What the heck? I'm not picking on middle-aged women. I'll pick on anybody that directly serves Notnilc, miles buried under the dragon's wing. It had nothing to do with when I'm picking on somebody. I don't look at their sex, race, orientation, what they're wearing, even the little gray streak in the hair. I look to see if they're a hardcore servant of Notnilc. If they are, it really doesn't matter who they are, what race, creed, color, or gender. I will pick on them as a servant of Notnilc. She thought I was picking on middle-aged women. Really? Oh, my God. That was the dumbest comment I've ever received since I've had this YouTube channel. Yeah, this was the person, the mayor of Los Angeles. Was it a Free Voice video where I called her a creature? This is a creature. I'm not looking at her. Well, a creature like this that comes from an alien species, there may be no gender. Did you ever see the Barbie movie? They keep talking about Ken in a certain way. There's nothing there. She might not have a gender. She's playing a role from an alien race or something, or it could be an interdimensional demon of some kind. This is a creature. Not looking at the fact that she's a middle-aged woman. In fact, as a hardcore Notnilc creature entity, she's probably the farthest thing from what you would call a regular middle-aged woman. Sorry I had to go back to this, and sorry you had to see this picture if you're eating lunch. All right, let me finish up with this news story that I'm sure is so important to you. This is the final screenshot. President Donald Trump disputed his own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, on how developed Iran's nuclear capabilities were and said Iran was on the verge of obtaining a nuclear weapon when Israel struck in recent days. So Trump says they're on the verge, and his own national intelligence director that's supposed to gather up all the intelligence, because the only way he can get his intelligence as to what's going on in the world is from her. She says something different. Well, where did he get his information? Well, he could call Bibi directly. Bibi has his own people. Asked where he personally stands on how close Iran was to getting a nuclear weapon, given what Gabbard testified just months ago, Trump told reporters on Air Force One they're very close. When pressed on Gabbard's specific testimony that they weren't very close, Trump said, I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it. I don't give a damn flying F what my director of national intelligence says. Where do you get your intelligence? From Bibi directly. What you think? Well, why do you have her on the payrolls if you don't use her? I don't know. I can't get rid of her. It says at the bottom, remember. What the heck? What kind of news article says remember in bold embedded in the article? Have you ever seen anything like that? It's like, hey, asshole, this is what's important. Why don't you just say in bold, hey, asshole, focus on this. Remember in bold. What the heck? You ever see that in a newspaper? Remember, Gaffy Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community continues to assess Iran as not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei Khomeini, he was there in the 70s. The Ayatollah Khomeini, wait a second, has not authorized a nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The intelligence in the United States? Look, guys, I know it's all cake in a lake, but do you believe the gall of which they're presenting this nonsense to the American people? Notnilc, if you're listening to me, and I know you do, I mean, you need to get your story straight. This is getting ridiculous, even to the dumbest of the dumb on the street. The intelligence community continues to assess Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. But Israel and Donald Trump say they're just weeks away. I mean, Matt, you yourself say the whole reality is a wake-up tool, and it has to become more and more ridiculous to wake up the few people left that haven't already woken up to it. Yeah, exactly. It's a truck and tractor pull. The whole reality is a wake-up mechanism. These stories can't make sense because reality has to devolve to a level where they can't make sense because it's supposed to wake people up. But I don't understand this at the bottom myself. Supreme Leader Khomeini, the Ayatollah Khomeini, that was there during the Jimmy Carter and the hostage crisis. The guy's got to be 170 years old. Let me look into this. This doesn't make no sense. You won't believe what's going on here. I looked into it for you. They're all seemingly named Khomeini, but the spelling's a little bit different. Notnilc. I mean, show some originality. This was the guy. This is the guy I remember. He really looks like a villain. Matt, you're going to get the you-know-what. What is it? Salman. You're going to get Salman Rushdie. I don't care. It'll add spice to my life. What the hell else am I going to do? Khomeini. That's the guy during the 70s. You know, most of you that are a little younger, you've seen it portrayed in that horrible Ben Affleck movie, Argo. Could Argo have been any worse? I mean, you, me, and Greg Bookendoruma, we could have done better than Argo. Argo was horrible. At least if you're gonna cake and lake the event and fake it, at least make a good movie so it seems legitimate. Khomeini. That's the difference. Now here's let me finish the last part about the current leader. Now it makes sense. Notnilc has to keep the same name but just change the spelling. That's all it thinks it has to do so people believe it. And back to what we were just looking at, but focusing on the last sentence, it says Supreme Leader Khomeini. But this is where I got confused. The one from the 70s was Khomeini. Kho. This is Khameni. The AI that runs this reality just thinks they have to just juggle a few letters and people will just be okay with it. I'm not okay with it, AI that runs this reality. The Supreme Leader, according to the National Intelligence of the United States, has not authorized a nuclear weapons program, and he suspended it in 2003, and they believe it. I guess, what is her name? Gabbard or something would say, well, he promised not to make any nuclear weapons. Let's just say things were real, guys. I know we can't do a sidebar every time. He promised not to do it. Well, why shouldn't we just take his word for it? I mean, so he promised not to. What did Eddie Murphy say? He says, we're not princes. We're just normal African students. We promised you via what I signed here in 2003, we would abandon the weapons program. Why would we possibly go back and lie? We signed it. Our signature word is our bond. But he signed Khomeini. He signed the name of the guy in the 70s. It means he's not legally bound to stop the nuclear weapons program. Nobody noticed it. Nobody at the intelligence services actually caught it. Just Khomeini signed it, but it was a different Khomeini. It was Khomeini. This is Khameni. And he went, aha! He went like that and he said, I gotcha. I signed the old Khomeini's name. I've been building nuclear weapons since 2003. Trump and Bibi were right. Look at this from the Erin Burnett Outback show. Was it Out Front or Outback? She was out back last night. Matt, you misogynist pig. She's a Notnilc minion. I'm not just picking on her because she's I used to, in the past 25 years ago, I really wanted to butter her muffin. You're a pig, Matt. I'm going to pick on any Notnilc minion. Why are they all women? I've never picked on Barack Obama or Bill Clinton or any of you, or Santa Claus Schwab. No, I don't pick on the men. Yeah, that's a good point. Erin Burnett out back. Trump suddenly leaving the G7 conference after saying Tehran, that's the capital of Iran, to you and me, should evacuate. Excuse me, President Trump, over here, sir. This is Matt McKinley with the Wall Street Journal. We hear you're leaving the G7 conference early. Do you have any words of wisdom for the world in this desperate time of crisis? What, sir? Tehran should fucking evacuate? All of Tehran? 4 or 5 million people should evacuate? What? You mean, are you suggesting, sir, that Israel's going to ramp up its bombing campaign on Tehran and they should get out? Where are they all? Where should they all go, sir? It's over 5 million people. West Bank and Gaza, like everybody else, he said. Thank you, Mr. Trump. He said, have him go to West Bank and Gaza, just like everybody else. There you have it, sir. Matt McKinley reporting, Wall Street Journal. Look at this bullshit that the people believe. At the top, Iran's secretive, heavily guarded nuclear site that's near impossible to destroy. If it's secretive, how is it on the front page of CNN.com? And if it's so secretive, how do they know it's near impossible to destroy? Well, Matt, Israel's provided its intelligence to the news outlets at this point. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Just like Colin Powell testified to the mobile nuclear facilities of Saddam Hussein. That was legitimate. Iran at the bottom it says, Israel says Iran was racing toward a usable nuclear weapon. Well, they've been saying that since 1895. U.S. intel says otherwise. Yeah, we just covered that. At the bottom, might as well finish reading it. The secretive Iranian nuclear site buried deep underground. Why, bot that does the CNN homepage? You just said that up top. Why you repeat yourself so soon? If you're going to repeat yourself, do it like on page 2 or 3. You just said that up there. I told Brandt. He told me on the phone. Mr. Lebowski says I could take any rug in the mansion. This one really, because the one Wu peed on really tied the room together. So let me get this straight. It's secretive and it's heavily guarded and it's underground, yet CNN's showing a picture of it on their homepage. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, guys. And that last segment actually gave me an idea of something we can do on this channel. The bottom right, it says, are you a Lebowski achiever? Of course, where the dude Lebowski puts his face in the mirror, pretending for a moment he's Times Man of the Year, when he's meeting the Mr. Lebowski, and he's the dude Lebowski. And he says, I'm not Mr. Lebowski, I'm the dude. Okay. We have the Pootie Tang Award at this channel. That's if you state the obvious. And I think Bill Clinton was a womanizer too, just like that woman claims about you, Matt. That's stating the obvious. Bill Clinton was a womanizer. Pootie Tang Award. We have the Righteous Truther Award. I haven't watched the news, Matt, in 15 years. I'll watch you covering the news, but I won't watch it myself. Oh, thanks for telling us. Righteous Truther Award. Now we have the coveted Lebowski Achiever Award. Bottom right, are you a Lebowski Achiever? This is an award for a comment that's so stupid, so off the mark, I have no other way to deal with it than to give it the Lebowski Achiever Award. For example, the woman that said I was kind of going after and criticizing and cutting up the mayor of Los Angeles because she was a middle-aged woman, and it had nothing to do that she's an absolute servant under the dragon's wing of Notnilc. For those types of comments, it will just be very brief, and underneath it'll say Lebowski Achievement Award, and now you'll know what that means. Guys, I went back to CNN to look at something that caught my eye earlier. This just popped up. I have to give CNN a little credit. Their solicitations for their $2. It's very minor compared to other websites, and even minor compared to Wikipedia. So they don't push it very much in your face, but this popped up. Get unlimited access, subscriber-only material, $29.99 a year. And I was thinking it's monthly, $3.99 a month. Do you think there's one person in the world? Do you think there's even one person that has signed up for this? I hate the term Potemkin Village, but sometimes it's appropriate. All these websites asking for subscriptions and for money, and there's so many ways to get your fake news for free. I mean, I don't think anybody's signed up. Maybe they have a few bot accounts signed up where they just trade money back and forth between their own accounts to make it look like they have subscribers. But I doubt there's any real beings on this earth that actually signed up for this. But I do, again, the main point is I wanted to thank CNN for not getting up in my face the way most websites do, and even Wikipedia. Guys, I scrolled down a bit and I came across some great news stories that really demonstrate the concept of even if it's real, it's fake. And people have emailed me basically saying, well, Matt, if the entire reality is a construct, then everything is, even if it's real, it's fake. Pretty much, you could make that stretch. You can get to that place. I agree. But it just takes the fun out of it. If we go every single thing, even like a squirrel getting a nut, is even if it's real, it's fake. But these are just more specific examples of the way I've been presenting it over the last few months. China's aircraft carriers send message in the open Pacific for the first time. Bot, what does that mean, the open Pacific? Is there a closed part of the Pacific? Like a certain part of, we used to go to the damn Viper rooms, like this is a VIP lounge. I want in there. You can't get in there. You got to pay $20 extra. I want to go in there. I don't want to pay no 20. Then you don't get no Coke. There was they had these dumbass VIP rooms in these stupid Hollywood clubs. I thought that's what I was supposed to do when I get out there when I was 26. Every time I go out, I just blow through my entire paycheck. What a waste of money. Anyway, we only did it for a few weeks. Me and it was Wilhelm, who was a med student from Germany, who lived across the way from me. We only did it for a few weeks. Forget that. I wanted to talk about China's aircraft carriers. So let me get this straight. If it's not a one world system and every country is doing its own thing, China would have never started an aircraft carrier program because you don't think they have the drones and they can land a JPL, of course, it's all real, can land little rovers on Mars, but they can't send drones and little tiny missiles, and there'd be no protection whatsoever for any aircraft carrier, say past 1980, in my opinion. They've all been sitting ducks since 1980. But the one world system, again, Matt, first and foremost, let's not forget your core reality principles is out to wake people up. This is one way it does it. We've covered how ridiculous the submarines are once every so many years. Any fool should be able to see that any underwater drone, these gigantic submarines and aircraft carriers would be absolute sitting ducks to even Somalia and West Sudan scientists now at this point that should use they could use Radio Shack drones to get out there. No country that's operating on its own, if anything were real, would continue. If China made the mistake of starting this program up in the early 2000s, it would have abandoned it. It would have said how ridiculous this technology is. Once again, it's something, for some reason, the first grade truthers can't see, that it's a one world system. No country's operating on its own. That is so obvious at this point. Okay, so we're on the topic. Let's go over together and take a look at this nonsense. We do this together, guys. I have no idea what's coming. I don't have the time to plan ahead or read ahead. It always delivers one absurdity, two comedy. Always. Right in the title. Look, Chinese aircraft carrier program, PROGRAMME. But why are you writing it like the old English? What the hell is this? Because it's the Chinese aircraft carrier program? You trying to put an international flavor on it? Wikipedia mostly writes as American and Canadian English. The bot's confused and trying to put some sort of international flavor on it. The way when a movie is being made and it's made for Americans, but it's supposed to be an international location, they just use British actors because that sounds foreign to Americans. It says here, as of 2025, the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy. What the hell? The People's Liberation Army Navy? That's a freaking contradiction and an oxymoron right there. It's called PLAN. Why are you using an American acronym? They use Chinese and Chinese characters. See, I don't have to do anything. It just delivers the comedy. They have two active carriers, the Liaoning and the Shandong. That's a restaurant I'm not joking. It's a Chinese restaurant I just ate at with Pam in the King of Prussia Mall, the Shandong Imperial. Go look it up. No, I'm just joking. Don't look it up. With the third planned, the Fujian. Don't plan a third. It's useless technology since 1980. Currently undergoing sea trials. What do you mean sea trials? It's not like a new type of airplane. You can fly it up to 80,000 feet. It either floats or it doesn't. A fourth carrier, currently called the Type 4, that's original, and featuring nuclear propulsion, has been, what do they have now? What do they have? Coal boilers like the Titanic? Like the others don't have nuclear propulsion. They got to make it seem like China's just a little bit behind still. The U.S., although if you go there, they're like millions of years more advanced from a technology perspective. They got the coal-fired boilers they got from the Olympic and the Britannia and the Titanic. They actually went down to the bottom of the sea to recover them. Has been under construction since 2024. But of course, it lags because it was shut down during the CV years. Wang Yongfei, a retired PLA officer, who cares? Who cares? What sort of gulag do they have him in today? In the years after 1985, China acquired 4 retired aircraft carriers for study, namely the British-built Australian HMAS Melbourne and the ex-Soviet carriers Minsk. They quoted the Minsk in Hunt for Red October. Then the Soviets sending their entire fleet into the Atlantic, including the Minsk. They're all trying to sink the Hunt for Red October. That was one of them. But this doesn't make any sense, guys. So China's supposed to be the big rival enemy and potential enemy for the next 100 years. But the Australians are going to just, for like $20, they're going to sell them an older aircraft carrier so the Chinese can study its design. Give me a break. It was old and outdated. If anything were real, Australia would not sell China an old aircraft carrier, even if it could gain any sort of advantage. This is ridiculous that people think countries are independent. The Var-Yag later underwent an extensive refit to be converted into the Liaoning. That's all they did was change the name, like the Olympic to the Titanic. And they swapped the linens. That's all they did. It's actually the old, if you just rub off a little bit of paint, it's the old Australian carrier. They didn't do anything but change the menu. China's first operational aircraft carrier, which also served as a basis for China's subsequent design iterations. Look at the bot trying to make it all complex and confusing with big words so people think this is all real. China's plan, PLAN, had. You don't use the same word back-to-back, bot. Had. You don't use is. That's dropping an ISIS. You don't do that. And Bill Clinton did that. He said it depends on what the definition... Monica Lewinsky? Depends on what the definition of is. They dropped an ISIS. That's how Notnilc drops an ISIS and gives an ode to their old gods. And it had ambition to develop and operate aircraft carriers since the 70s. Well, no, if it wasn't a one-world system, they would have seen in 1975 over hookah that it's a ridiculous, outdated technology, and they wouldn't have put one penny into it. Thanks for listening.